Top of the SportsMax Zone for this Thursday. Harbour View and Dunbeholden are through to the final of the Jamaica Premier League after two riveting semi-finals at Sabina Park on Wednesday. The second match of the evening between Dunbeholden and Cavalier was a 7-goal thriller that needed extra time and penalties to deliver a winner. Here are those highlights.
Bailey playing this one inside and got the return ball and hammered that. It was a fabulous finish. Powell did well to find Kimoni Bailey. And what an emphatic finish that was. We saw some fantastic goals in this encounter. Atkinson went for the glory, and oh, that was glorious. In the 45th minute, what a hit that was. The equalizer on the night, and they trailed by a goal on aggregate after that wonderful hit from Atkinson. Phillips on the ball for Dunbeholden. Bygrave, twisting, turning, and bang! Oh, he'll not forget that one. The first of 2 goals tonight at Sabina Park, and he was off. But Cavalier, they kept on rolling. Strong hit that by Gibbons. On the half volley, on the hour mark, bang! Nothing Hyatt could have done with that one. And they kept on pushing. Look at this build-up. Oh, this was just magnificent to watch. Gibbons across the area, and there was Webster. It probably was his first touch of the night. He came on as a sub. He was a super sub. Converting that one. Oh, that's wonderful. They were pop a hoop after that. Cavalier, because they had leveled it up on aggregate. And then this one sent inside the area. Bygrave sending that one over the bar. Couldn't do a whole lot with it, but he was still disappointed with himself. And then a minute after, bang! Again, Bygrave, his second of the night, his 13th this season. What an assist that was from Thomas in winning that header. And then Bygrave showing the strength, the resilience to shrug off the challenge from Ming, and that's never easy. And ahead again in stoppage time, ahead on aggregate. And then Cavalier, King. Crown him? Yeah. You will never expect the source at times. And King with a blinder. Level on aggregate after extra time, and then it was down to penalties. Wasn't the best start for Dunbeholden. McCarthy finding Bartlett, and then right after that, Hyatt making the save, denying King. Phillips converted. This one dragged wide by Doxley. Campbell, oh, wasn't he fortunate? Slipping on the spot. And then Dwayne Smith to seal it. And didn't he seal it? Heaven on earth for Dunbeholden. Their first Jamaica Premier League final appearance.
Yes, 7-goal thriller there, so Cavalier winning, but it went to penalties after a 4-4 draw on aggregate. And it was Dunbeholden, 4th year in the Premier League, that made sure that they got their spot in the final. Dunbeholden's marksman, Tafarod Bygrave, spoke to us after the game.
Right, 2 goals on the night and a penalty as well. 13 on the season. Your season keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, as I said earlier on, is just the teamwork and follow the coach instruction.
And through to the first final for Dunbeholden as well. That must feel great considering your contribution as well.
Yeah, we feel great. We tell the community that we're going to do it for them. So we'll just stick to the task and get the job done.
We know you have a lot of exciting things to come. Of course, your contract at Vietnam, your ascension to the Reggae Boys team. But tell me just what it means to you to carry your team, basically, Dunbeholden, to the final of the JPL.
It's an elite moment for me. I just keep fighting, never give up. I just don't follow listen to the obstacle that come my way. I just keep fighting, and that's it.
Yeah, Bygrave, huge fan of CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo, and was actually on the Cavalier books at one stage early in his career, George. Played in Antigua and Barbuda for 2 teams. He played for Triumph FC and also Grenades, and making a big mark last night.
Yeah, and as I said on this show before, he caught my attention when he was part of Jamaica's team to a street football competition in St. Lucia in 2016. That's where I first saw him, and I'm very proud of the progress he's made. Lance, I have more than a few friends in the Dunbeholden community, some boys that I grew up with, Dwayne and his brother Kennard rather, and it's just, if you had told me any time before this season that Dunbeholden would have a team in the final of Jamaica's top flight football competition, I'd have asked you if you were mad, because it's a very small community, a sugar community in Jamaica. The population, of course, has grown like everywhere else in recent time, but it's not somewhere that you associate with top flight football. What the players and the management of this team have done with the resources that they've had in terms of personnel, with the resources that they've had to sustain a footballing club at this level, is nothing short of miraculous. It is a case study in how frugality need not mean disappointment and underachievement. It is a signal accomplishment by the Dunbeholden management staff and the coaching staff and the players. And I think that, for me, beyond the football, I have to highlight that and the fact of the significance of that. Dunbeholden deserve all the success they're getting right now, because many clubs with a similar profile have been cannon fodder in Premier League competitions in the past, and here they are punching with the big boys and punching as a big boy.
Yeah, and to be fair, George, cannon fodder they have never been since they entered Premier League football. Because even though they were bottom half of the table in their debut season, we had made the point constantly when we were doing commentary that they didn't lose games badly.
Yes.
A lot of games they lost by 1 goal. They drew matches and they were not outplayed, even by the best teams. They were up against Waterhouse, they were up against Arnett, they were up against Portmore, and they were competitive. So at no point since they entered Premier League football in 2018-2019 did Dunbeholden look like minnows. It's the best season by far they have had. But I must say that I'm very, very happy for them, because we saw them shaping their roster up. Their roster now pretty solid. And we must remember too that when they qualified for Premier League football in 2018-2019, they had topped Mount Pleasant in the qualifying series to get elevated to Premier League football. And that by itself was a statement that they meant business.
Yeah, and you know, we have to put some historical context to this, and I will say things, of course, that you can identify with given your career covering Premier League football. I did say on commentary in the first leg semi-final between Dunbeholden and Cavalier that Dunbeholden are the first organic St. Catherine team to make a semi-final of the Premier League and to now make a final, because although Portmore United have, and of course, won multiple Premier League titles from St. Catherine, they're not organically St. Catherine. They're a Clarendon team that came over to St. Catherine.
Initially Hazard.
And then so they came over in 2001. By 2003, they rebranded as Portmore.
Yeah.
So the only time a St. Catherine team before now have come to the final would be Black Lion. They lost to Reno, you remember, and then Thunderbolts, who lost to Cavalier when Cavalier won in 1981. So Dunbeholden is the first St. Catherine team, organic St. Catherine team, since Thunderbolts 1981 and Reno in about 1989 to come to play for the championship. And hold on, Lance, I can refine that even further, because if memory serves me right, That Cavalier win in 1981, it wasn't a final. I think it was a league format. And they finished top of the pile ahead of Thunderbolts. And then the same thing for Reno over Black Lion, because the Premier League in Jamaica is not every season where there's been a championship game. Usually it's a league format, and the winner of the league with the top of the pile wins.
There were years that the format had been changed.
Right. So Dunbeholden are making history, and if they go on to win, then they'll be the first St. Catherine club birthed and conceptualized and sustained to have won the Premier League. And when you look at the scroll of Premier League champions over the years, and the records land start at 1930-31 when Kensington beat St. Anne, and coming all the way, when YMCA beat St. Anne rather, and then 1951-52 and coming down to the modern times. At least in the history of the Premier League as we know it in Jamaica since 1973, no organic St. Catherine team has won the top flight football competition in Jamaica. Dunbeholden are one win away from changing that.
Yeah, and spare a thought for Cavalier and the sort of fight they showed last night as the defending champions. They weren't going down without a fight, were they? And they scored some brilliant goals. Richard King's left-footed strike was tremendous. And Dwayne Atkinson, the 20-year-old former Kingston College standout. I keep saying, George, I don't know why that young man doesn't score more goals in Premier League football. He has so many tools. He has good kicking ability with both feet. He has good speed, good dribbling skills. And I think we still haven't seen the best of him. His goal last night was what... I don't even know which goal was the best of the night, George, because you could put them in a hat and pull one out and you can't be far wrong. But look at how he sets himself up here, challenged by two defenders, but hit a looping-looking shot that just dipped. A bit of a Cristiano Ronaldo look about it, the way the ball dipped and just found the back of the net. So Cavalier, even though they relinquished their title last night, I saw the post-match interview with Rudolph Speed, their technical director, and while you could see the disappointment, his body language did tell you that he was proud of the way his team fought and the quality of the game. Because as you mentioned at the top of the show, George, I can't remember seeing a Premier League game in the history of my watching Premier League football that was as impressive as the one we saw last night.
Not at all. And quickly, just to wrap this up before we get to the other one, semi-final. There is an expression that goes back to the days, to medieval days when warriors went out, left their village to go and fight, where they spoke of dying on their shield, yeah? And you heard Deontay Wilder say that in his second fight against Tyson Fury when the fight was stopped, and he said, you shouldn't have stopped the fight, Corner. You should have let me go out on my shield.
He fired Mark Breland because of that, his trainer.
Literally what it means is this: when you go to battle and you are killed and they bring you back on your shield, it means that you died fighting. You went down fighting. Cavalier, as a defending champion, went out on their shield last night, and nobody associated with the club can feel disappointed in the effort of the boys at the end of what was a difficult season for them. But there's so much potential in every man used by Rudolph Speed this season. The future is bright for them Cavalier boys.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Now, in the other semi-final, the second leg clash, Harbour View were trying to defend a 1-0 first leg advantage against Waterhouse. And let's have a look at those highlights now.
And we look at the highlights here in the second leg semi-final. Benbow sending this one inside. Gray probably should have headed that one. Didn't have a lot of time there, and he was on the end of that cross, but couldn't do a lot with it. Bradford's shot was charged down. He would be involved a little bit more in this encounter. Denada Thomas, what a massive chance that was, but needed power and placement. Trayvon Reed driving that one wide. That was close for the Stars of the East. Reed unable to find the target. Murray playing that one through Lewis over the top. There was a deflection on the way through. Saka for Lewis. Could not handle the bounce. Couldn't find the target. Denada Thomas's ball over the top. Mix up at the back between Talbot and Bennett. Gray making himself a nuisance there for the Harbour View back line. And Shaquille Bradford on the stroke of half time, giving Waterhouse the lead on the day. And tied up on aggregate. Really confusion at the back here, but Bradford did not mind. Neither did the Waterhouse supporters. They were ecstatic. And they could have gone ahead here. This was a massive chance. Ricardo Thomas would want a do-over here. Benbo was also waiting in the middle. And then they tried to press the advantage. Thomas couldn't quite get a proper shot off. Then that shot from Howell was charged down right in front of the goalkeeper. Angvin was in the way of it. And then he eventually made the clearance. Benbo again. This was a wonderful ball inside, and what fantastic defending by Staple. Staple just putting it away. Couple of Waterhouse players behind him. Hamilton. What a wonderful finish that was. Nicholas Hamilton, again the difference maker. Scored the winning goal in the first leg and scored the critical goal in the second. And they lead on aggregate. Hamilton in the 84th minute, the super sub of these times, and then close to the end, look at this football. Hamilton and Murray just running out of ideas. Probably too many things going through his mind there. And that was that for the end of this game.
Yeah, so a shocking result there with Harbour View getting past Waterhouse. Waterhouse top seed and regular season champions, unable to reverse the 1-0 deficit they were up against. Harbour View did well though, George. Played well generally. Brilliantly well.
I remind people that the gap between the teams in the table was 21 points. That's a 7-game difference.
Yes.
Yeah, Harbour View worse than Waterhouse. Harbour View got through to the playoffs by virtue of a goal difference over Humberland. Yeah? And they have taken down Arnett Gardens and Harbour and Waterhouse. Nothing fluky about their progress to the final. I want to say something quickly about Nicholas Hamilton's goal. Lance, it's a finish that you would expect from the great Brazilian Romário. It's a Romário finish. It's almost like a toe poke finish. And if you remember the goal Ronaldo scored for Brazil in the semifinals of the 2002 FIFA World Cup against Turkey, that one where he ran into the box and he shot early with the toe. And they said, how did you conceive that finish? He said, no, it's a finish I always see Romário with. Look at this. Yeah? 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 Yeah, that's a finish. That's a goal scorer's finish.
Yeah.
You can't be anything but a pure goal scorer. If you're not anything but a pure goal scorer, you're not scoring that.
Yeah, there were 3 defenders in front of him,
yes.
So he needed to be sharp, and he had to get the shot off quickly.
Yeah.
And he did a little bit of a dance there to give himself some room. Really, really outstanding strike there from Nicholas Hamilton. A standout some years ago with Cavalier, now with Harbour View, and he has been the man of the moment for them. Let's see what happens in the final on Sunday, which of course will be live on SportsMax. We go to break. Still a lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone.
Thank you for watching SportsMax on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and to click the notification bell to stay informed.